friends. I hope you're doing well this afternoon. I'm just sitting here listening to some Diana Ross. Uh, reach out and touch somebody's hand. And I'm praying that you are reaching out and touching somebody's hand virtually because we know we need to practice our social distancing, but we don't have to practice social isolation. So there are different ways of reaching out to each other, and I hope you're enjoying these videos because this is definitely my way of reaching out to you. And it's a new journey for me, as I shared yesterday, but I am learning. I started a YouTube page, y'all. A YouTube. Like, I learned how to do a YouTube. I'm feeling very blessed. God keeps showing me that there are things that I can do, and it is different, definitely coming out of my comfort zone in a lot of ways, but reaching out and touching someone's hand this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. So we are staying in Matthew for yet another segment, but we're going back a chapter. We're going to go back to chapter 5, and we're talking about attitude. Let me see if you could get your neck rolling. Attitudes. And what our attitude should be like. I know many of you know I have a 6-year-old. She's Miss Sassy Pants. She got a bit of an attitude. I know some of us can have a bit of an attitude, but Jesus tells us what our attitude should be like. We have these beatitudes. So let's go to scripture. And again, this is Matthew 5 verses 1, starting with verse 1. Now when Jesus saw the crowd, he went up to the mountainside and sat. His disciples came to him and began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecute the prophets who were before you." Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I feel like I'm being persecuted or when things are hard, it's really hard for me to have a great attitude. Many of us are struggling with that at this moment in time. How do we have a positive attitude when everything seems uncertain, everything seems overwhelming, we're being pulled and pushed in different directions? But God tells us right here what our attitude should be like, and what we get to experience. We get to experience blessings. And not only that does he bookend it, the blessing with a promise. He says, if we are this, then we will experience this. God doesn't leave us just hanging out there. He tells us this is how you need to carry on, and this is what you will endure, and this is what blessings can come from the things that you're experiencing. So don't lose heart. Stay focused. Know your worth and know that I love you and value you. And even if you can't see it, know that it's true. Feel it. Jesus is instructing the people on how their attitude should be when faced with different situations. And I know we are faced with different things even way before this whole corona nonsense. Not that it's nonsense, but this craziness. And we were faced with challenges. And even in those moments, we still had to have this attitude of gratitude. We talk about it as an act of worship, really, to have gratitude even in the midst of uncertainty. It's really easy to be thankful and to count ourselves blessed when everything's going right. It's really a challenge to hold on to those blessings and that same attitude of gratitude when things are going not the way we want them to, when they're not really in in line with what we think should be happening in our lives at this moment in time. And I know we could be discouraged and we could be overwhelmed and we could start giving into that stinking thinking, and we can make up all of the reasons why we're justified in our reactions or attitudes. But God doesn't call us to be that way. He says, be blessed. And when I looked up the definition of blessed, it means favored, given mercy, and a benefit of special grace. We're given special grace when we are enduring all of these various things. God sees it and he blesses us, and we have to count ourselves blessed. We can always say that our cross is heavier than the next. We can compare what we're going through versus what someone else is going through. But God didn't intend for us to be on that journey. He intended us to be on the journey that we're on. And all of our journeys look different, but our attitude has to remain the same. And that attitude of gratitude. And it can be challenging. We can move through our days with resentment, with anger, and feelings of regret. But how can we put on this attitude of Christ? Well, we could look at things differently. We can find joy within the midst of the struggle. I know every obstacle, every challenge I've ever been faced with has come out for the betterment of myself or my family, or the things that I needed to experience that grew me in a way that I wouldn't have grown otherwise. And I think, honestly, even through these challenging days, we are going to come out better and stronger and more rooted than we've ever fathomed. And that's what God does. He does it in a way that we can never, ever understand. There are many things around us today that can cause us to revert to our stinking thinking. And my ARC friends and my recovery friends know that stinking thinking, that nothing is ever going to be different, and this is the way it's always going to be, and I can never change, and wahs, right? But we have to change our thinking. We have to change the way we see things and perceive things, and put on those glasses of salvation and those glasses of grace and those glasses of mercy, and see things the way God is seeing them. And we get to experience things quite differently. So when you feel like things are creeping up, here's a little chant I'm going to give you. And this is comes courtesy of my kids' Grandma Gogo. For those of you in the Salvation Army world, it comes from Major Gwen Jones. And she taught them this, and we use it quite frequently around our house when that attitude starts to rise up, that negative attitude. So the kids know it, and we say, heave ho, that attitude's got to go. Heave ho, that attitude's got to go. And that's it. That attitude's got to go. It can't stay here, because if it stays here, then we start spiraling. How many of us have started spiraling? And the minute you look back, you're like, I don't even know what I was mad about, but I'm mad, and I want you to know that I'm mad. And that's not of God. We need to have that spirit of peace, that spirit of harmony, that spirit of merciful thinking, and knowing that we're going to be blessed. The more we exhibit that, the more we embrace that, the more we live that out in our daily walk. So, this is my tip for you today, is have the attitude of Christ. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. And that comes out of Philippians 4:4. I hope that you will rejoice today, regardless of whatever circumstances are facing you, that you will be in that attitude of Christ, that you will put on his attitude and meet each day with that same joy, that same knowledge that he ultimately is in control. Our mom tip for today, because you got to know I got to leave you with a fun mom tip. So today we made stained glass, and we did it out of really fun resources. So if you have a baggie and a pair of scissors, you can cut this along. Draw with a black Sharpie any image you want color it in on the inside, and you will create a beautiful stained glass that can be put up anywhere. And it's not glass, and the kids will love it. You can get creative. You can trace out of a coloring book, lay the plastic down and trace over the coloring book. And just to give you an example of what a quick sample looks like, this was our B attitude for today. So we made a little stained glass. It's up on our windows right now. The attitude. Oh, you guys are seeing my stuff. All right. So I hope that is helpful. I know I'm learning technology though, so bear with me. It might get better and better each day. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you enjoyed the message of hope. And remember, Salvation Army is there to serve you in every capacity. My friends and neighbors who need it, there are food banks that are open within your community. Reach out to your local Salvation Army. Be looking online. There are many worship services going on around our communities, because one thing's for sure, Salvation Army is where hope lives. God bless.